Next up, I've got a Glock 29. That is the subcompact Glock that is in 10mm. Not much I can really say about it. You know, it's Gen 4, and if you've seen one Glock, you've seen them all. I decided I wanted a 10mm, so I went out and bought me a 10mm, and it so happens that this is what the gun shop had, so this is what I walked out with. Typical Glock reliability, not a single issue. Typical Glock accuracy, about as good as the shooter can be. And yeah, I enjoy it, and this is my hog hunting sidekick almost every time I go. Glock 29 10mm. And while on the subject of 10mm, we'll talk about the Ruger 1911 in 10mm. It's got the nice Ruger target sights, the blacked out target sights. Unless you're shooting in low light conditions, they're pretty nice sights in my opinion. I generally group pretty well with those sights on any gun, but you know, it's not really much else I can say about it. It's a standard 1911 size frame. It's not really bigger than your full size 45 1911. It's just chambered in 10mm instead. Still a single stack magazine. But it's accurate. It's got a good trigger pull. It's heavy, as you would expect a 1911 to be. But I still like it. I enjoy it. Enjoy shooting it, and glad to have it. But that is your Ruger 10mm 1911. Next up, I'll show you guys my Smith & Wesson Model 629-6. Which is the 629 Classic in 44 Magnum. 6-shot 44 Magnum, definitely my nicest 44 Magnum, which I've only got 2 of them, and you've already seen the other one. Not knocking the Taurus, not knocking it, but you know, when it comes to Smith & Wesson versus Taurus, we know who wins. Nice hefty piece, as you would expect with a 44 Magnum, kind of a duh statement, but anyway, just got the nice front orange ramp with the rear notch. I like that sight picture. I like sight pictures with a lot of contrast between the front and the back. I usually shoot those guns better than most, but or at least better than guns with less contrast. I mean, the more contrast, the better I shoot it, which most of you could probably say the same thing. But anyway, that is the 629 Classic, the 44 Magnum from Smith & Wesson. While on the subject of revolvers, I'll show you guys the last revolver that I've got to show you, and it just so happens to be the biggest one I've got to show you. And it is the Smith & Wesson 500 Magnum. This is the Performance Center model. This one, God, this is a heavy revolver. But, sights are about like the 629, front ramp, rear notch. It did come with a scope rail, nice big hefty Picatinny rail, and it mounts right there at those 3 screws. At some point I will put a small scope on it, but for right now I've just got other things that I want to get, most of them being guns, and so that little project will have to wait. But hey, scope or no scope, man, this thing's fun to shoot. You know, a lot of people complain about shooting 500 Magnums. A lot of people don't like, you know, they say they beat the crap out of their hands, the web of their hands, but that may be true. But this one right here is not bad. You know, I don't know how much the muzzle brake has to do with that. I don't know how much that this heavy lug on the barrel, I don't know how much that has to do with it, but I'm sure they both combine to have a lot to do with it. And also this soft back piece on this grip, you know, nice and gives quite a bit. This one right here has got a lot of muzzle flip, but it does not have a lot of, like, I don't know, the recoil into your hand is not like a hard slam. You know, it's more like a very solid push. You know, it doesn't it doesn't make you want to let go of the gun and start, you know, waving your hand around in the universal sign for that hurt like hell. But you know, I've shot the Underwood, what are they, 700 grain hard cast lead projectiles out of it, which I really expected to suck. It doesn't. It doesn't suck. I mean, it's got more recoil than a 44 Magnum, but it doesn't hurt, it doesn't suck, and it's fun. It's fun to know that you're shooting a round that's that damn big downrange, and it's especially fun to know that you can handle it. But yeah, this thing, I really like it. I'm really glad I went with the Performance Center model. Like I said, the muzzle brake, the heavier than normal barrel, the little trigger job that they did, the single action pull is about what you would expect on a Smith & Wesson revolver, but the double action is better, definitely better than your average Smith & Wesson revolver, or really any double action, single action revolver. But anyway, that is the 500 Magnum. Next up, I got my Smith & Wesson M&P 22 Compact. It's got the TLR1 mounted to it. I bought this while my Silencer Co. Warlock was still in NFA jail. I bought this specifically to be a suppressor host, and that's what it is, and it does a really good job at it. It's a really fun gun to shoot, and while the Walther P22 is threaded and suppressor ready, I just prefer this one. Combination of how it fits in my hand and a little bit better trigger in it, I think. But yeah, this one, accuracy is pretty much the same from pistol to pistol. But this one is the one that I choose to suppress when I want to shoot, you know, suppress 22 pistols. And does a really good job at it, and I really am glad that I've got this one. I enjoy this pistol a lot, so highly would recommend it if it's something you're in the market for. But yeah, that's the M&P 22 Compact. Next up, I've got a Sig Sauer P226 Legion. This one is chambered in 357 SIG. I know a lot of people are, you know, gonna say, oh, why didn't you buy it in 9mm? You know, why'd you buy it in 357 SIG? 357 SIG's expensive, 9mm's cheap. You're an idiot. Well, I guess if you want to think that, that's fine. You can think whatever you want to, but I'm a big fan of 357 SIG. That's what I wanted. That's what I bought. So this is the double action, single action with the decocker. That's how I prefer all of my hammer fired pistols to be, if I can help it. This one's got the Gray Guns trigger in it, and it is a super nice trigger. It's got the nice front post fiber optic and the rear night sights, which they're all night sights, they all glow. But this gun right here is just awesome. I love this gun. It handles the snappiness of the 357 SIG better than any gun that I've ever shot chambered in that round. And it's a pleasure to shoot. It's one of the most accurate guns I've got, hands down, and I love it. It's one of my favorites too. So that is the P226 Legion 357 SIG. I would recommend that one to anybody. I think that it would be one of your favorites too, probably. Even if you went with a 9mm version, whatever caliber you prefer. If you want to spend the coin, this is a good one to go for. Next up, I've got a Sig Sauer P320 Compact, chambered at 9mm. Up until a few days ago, this one had the standard SIG grip module on it, but I upgraded to the Wilson Combat grip module. I think I paid about $70 to do that, which in my opinion is a really good value, considering the majority of the grip modules on SIG's website are at or above $70 anyway, unless you're talking about the standard model, which is what I upgraded from, which is definitely nothing special, and I don't see why anybody would pay money to get one of those unless their dog chewed up their original one or something. But as far as the gun itself, it's got the 3-dot sights. These are not the night sights, but no big deal to me. Like I said, the Wilson Combat Module, which is a huge upgrade in my opinion, and one of the best stock triggers in a polymer frame striker fired gun that I've ever felt. I'm not talking about triggers, that have that are aftermarket. I'm not talking about triggers that have had a trigger job done to them. As far as what comes with the gun, this is probably the best trigger pull that I've ever felt in a striker fired polymer frame gun. But anyway, that's my SIG P320 Compact, and we'll move on to something else. Next up, we've got the original pistol that's chambered in 5.7 by 28 millimeter, and that is the FN57. I owned this one a long time before Ruger ever released their 5.7 model, but much like the Ruger, it's lightweight, as you would expect, very little recoil, as you would expect. The only thing about it that a lot of people don't like is the controls are a little, I'll say, different. Not many people are used to having a safety right there, and magazine, or sorry about that. Yeah, well, magazine release is in a pretty standard spot, and then the slide release is in a pretty standard spot. But that safety, it takes some getting used to, I guess, if you were going to carry it. But me, I don't carry it. I just carry it to the range. So that's not a big deal to me. Standard 3-dot sights. Like I said, lightweight, very little recoil. A little bit bulkier in the grip to me than the Ruger. But like I said, man, this is the original, and it's hard to beat the classics. And in my opinion, this is the classic 5.7 by 28 handgun. So anyway, that's the FN, and we'll move on to something else.